Well, welcome. Got dressed up a little bit today because we're going to be talking about the Book of Mormon and rock and roll and how they're tied in together. Don't know exactly where to start with this. We have a cool situation with the Book of Mormon and rock and roll. I don't know when rock and roll began. Some say Chuck Berry. Some say it didn't really come into its own until the Beatles came on the scene in the 60s. But regardless, I love rock and roll. My all-time favorite band is the British band called Yes. Started in the late 60s, went through the 70s and 80s, 90s. They're still playing. They're old guys now, like the rest of us, but they're a wonderful band. If I were to suggest some albums from Yes, I would say the Yes album, Fragile, Close to the Edge would probably be the three that I would start with. They're really good, but that's not what I get distracted very easily. That's not what I wanted to talk about today. There was a movie that came out about a year ago about the band Queen, another British band, Bohemian Rhapsody. And don't freak out. I know there's some things in it. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but there were some really interesting things that came out of that movie for me. So, at the beginning of the movie, there's the typical kind of stern father figure, and then Freddie Mercury, who becomes the lead singer and really the catalyst for the Queen band, and there's this scene where the father and son, they're just not clicking together, and the father goes to Freddie. He goes, "Now, Freddie, you remember good thoughts, good words, good deeds." And you can see Freddie just kind of roll his eyes. He's a young teenager and wanting to discover himself. So anyway, good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Also in the movie, you find out that this family that originally came from India and then ended up in England, Freddie Mercury's parents, their religion is Zoroastrianism. They're Zoroastrians. And I thought, I've heard of that, but I don't really know much about it. So, as usual with me, I have to find out. I went on Amazon and bought a book to my Kindle, a small book on Zoroastrians, and I read it. Interesting. It originated in the Middle East, in Babylon, really, around somewhere between 600 and 700 BC is what they figure. They believe in one God, which wasn't that popular in Babylon at the time, where multiple gods were worshipped, somewhat persecuted, driven, and a lot of them ended up in India. And it's a small religious group, really, in comparison to many. But their motto or their theme is this: good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Interesting. So what other things are going on in Babylon, in Israel, in the Middle East, around 600 or 700 BC? Well, you have the Babylonian captivity of Israel. You have the prophet Jeremiah held captive. You have the prophet Lehi leaving Jerusalem at that time to escape the Babylonians, and ending up in the Americas, as we talked about in the last video. And so you have a lot of interesting things going on. And then you throw in this Zoroastrian concept. And you're probably wondering, how am I going to tie in rock and roll with the Book of Mormon? Well, here we go. So this is just a thought of mine. I don't think things happen by chance. And I watched this movie several times. It just happened to be that my wife and I were flying a lot during this time period. And the movie on the plane that looked halfway decent was this movie about Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. So we watched it a few times on the plane, and I got probably more out of it than I should. But at the same time, I'm reading the Book of Mormon, and an interesting thing happens. So at the beginning, I've explained the beginning of the movie. That at the end of the movie, Freddie's lived this crazy lifestyle that's led him away into a not a good place. But he still has those teachings, and he still has those feelings, and he's basically a really good person. And he ends up getting the band together to do a benefit concert, a worldwide benefit concert. It's really awesome. I remember when that concert happened. And he tells his dad, he hugs his dad, and he said, "Dad, remember you taught me good thoughts, good words, good deeds." It's pretty touching. So, the same time I'm reading in the Book of Mormon, and King Benjamin, I'm in Mosiah, the beginning of Mosiah, and the first few chapters, as you recall, is King Benjamin giving his wonderful sermon. So King Benjamin, at the very, very end of his sermon, it's the last verse of his sermon. He says this, and it caught my eye, and I'm going to read it. "But this much I can tell you, that if ye do not watch yourselves, and your thoughts, and your words, and your deeds, and observe the commandments of God, and continue in the faith of what ye have heard concerning the coming of our Lord, even unto the end of your lives, ye must perish. And now, O man, remember and perish not." Watch your thoughts, your words, your deeds. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Do you think this is by chance? That we have this phrase from the Zoroastrians in Babylon, good thoughts, good words, good deeds, and then it shows up here with King Benjamin. Well, how could that be? Well, let me give you a thought of maybe how it could have happened. First off, all good things have one source, and that's God. And the more we try to connect things, I think the better off we are versus finding differences or opposites. These connective dots are really fascinating to me. Virtually every culture has within it the idea of a flood, the idea of a creation with beginning parents. It's amazing how similar our thoughts and processes are with other cultures. Now, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I love the scriptures that we have. I love the Book of Moses. I love the Book of Abraham. I love the Book of Mormon. I love the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Doctrine and Covenants. I love these scriptures, and they formulate something that connects anciently to the past. So as I'm looking at good thoughts, good words, good deeds, I'm thinking, how could that be? Well, think of this. Some of those captives in Babylon probably made their way back to Israel. Maybe they were the ones that originated those thoughts, good words, good deeds. And the Zoroastrians picked up on it, and then it bounced back. And then Lehi connected it. And then Lehi brought it to the Americas, and then it was passed down to where we have King Benjamin give his great sermon. And right there in the Book of Mormon, Mosiah 4:30, we have it right there. Watch your thoughts, your words, your deeds. It's amazing how all these things are connected. So that's how we connect rock and roll with the Book of Mormon. I love thinking of these things. I love trying to connect the dots and how to find the similarities versus the differences. So, peace, love, and rock and roll, Book of Mormon, Jesus Christ. Peace out.